Hello everyone. In this video, going to share about part of inner classes in Java, mainly on inner classes, its types and nested inner classes. As the name indicates, inner class is a class that is declared and defined inside another class or interface. This concept works as a part of nested classes where outer and inner classes are used. The top level class in which the inner class are defined is known as the outer class. We make use of inner classes predominantly on cases in which we may want to group same logically related classes in one place to be more readable and maintainable, as Java is purely an object oriented language that brings closer to the real world. The inner classes can access even private members and methods of outer class. In other words, it can access all the members of the outer class. Why do we need inner classes in Java? Ideally, a class should have code only for the things an object of that particular type needs to do. Any other behavior should be a part of another class better suited for that job. Sometimes, as an object oriented programmer, while designing a class, you might realize you need a behavior that belongs in a separate, specialized class but also needs to be intimately tied to the class you are designing. Even handlers are one of the best examples for such scenario. Say you have a chat client. You might want the chat client specific methods like accepting input, reading new messages from server, send user input back to the server, and so on to be on in the class. But how do these methods get invoked in the first place? On button click or typing on text field, a separate thread to get messages from the server and displaying back. For all these, you need methods for handling events. Okay, what are the options that you have from the concepts we had seen so far? Maybe inheritance? It's not going to work as you can't extend more than one class. The events and the chat methods are intimately tied and related. If you are going to use abstract classes, at some point you might either end up with a duplicate code or the necessity to extend multiple classes. The other options would be all the event handling in one class and all chat client specific methods on another class, and make chat client members and methods accessible by the event handling class, marking them public. But that's not a good solution either. You will be losing better part of object orientation and encapsulation. Add to that overexposure and maybe security concerns as well. This is where the need of inner classes in Java comes in. One of the key benefits of an inner class is the specific relation of an inner class instance share with an instance of the outer class. That is, inner class access to the members and methods of the enclosing or outer class as long as the inner class were part of the outer class. With this, you are not violating encapsulation. You just decided to design it this way. Types of inner classes. In my opinion, there are four types of inner classes. Inner classes are normal inner classes, method local inner classes, static classes, and anonymous inner classes. A few would say nested classes at the top level, inner classes, and static classes as its two types, and further classify inner classes into nested inner classes, method local inner classes, and anonymous inner classes. It's a matter of interpretation. Both are fine for me. In this video, we will look at only nested inner classes. The types will be covered in future videos of this tutorial. Normal inner classes. A simple inner class that we discussed so far is the normal inner class, also called as nested inner class. Nested inner class is a class that is declared and defined inside another class. Create an instance of an inner class, we must have an instance of the outer class tied to the inner class. There are no exceptions to this rule. It is the outer class that creates instances of the inner class, since it is usually the outer class wanting to use the inner class instance as a helper for its own personal use. Prior to Java 16, we cannot have static methods in a nested inner class because an inner class is implicitly associated with an object of its outer class, so it cannot define any static method for itself. But since Java's version 16, we can have static methods in our inner class also. Let's look at some examples to understand in detail. Had created a class, outer class, defined private variable int I equal to 10 and private method print outer class private, protected method print protected. These variables and method declarations are to show inner class's ability to access all the methods of the outer class. Keyword class, then nested inner class name inner class. A public method, public void print inner class printing details. Then calling outer class private method, printing enclosing class private variable and calling outer classes protected method. Here we are able to access all the members and methods of outer class from the inner class. Had created another class, sample outer, to illustrate the ability to have static methods inside a regular non-static inner class. Here, stressing the word regular on nested inner class to ensure this is not a static nested class. Then class sample inner, and inside the inner class defined a static method that simply prints something. This code will execute only if you are using Java version 16 and above. To show inner class instantiation, I had created a class demo inner class. Inside the main method, instantiating the inner class, that is creating an object for inner class from the outer class object. As to create an instance of an inner class, you must have an instance of the outer class. Then calling the public method of the nested class. Finally, directly calling the static method in the sample inner class through its outer class. Let's execute and verify. All these statements are printed as expected. We got the output as expected. I have to warn you that nested inner classes always had mixed opinion as they are loved by some and hated by some. Many have their own opinions on designing with inner classes. Few would claim it increases readability and maintainability, and a few would say it increases complexity, making it difficult to read and maintain. I am personally not a fan of nested inner classes design. I try to avoid them as much as possible and utilize it very rarely on certain very useful cases. I would recommend the same. Use inner classes only when you see a clear advantage. Thank you.